Let me just give you like a 10,000 foot view of why it's so tricky with peptides. When peptides first entered clinical practice, they were typically prescribed by a few clinicians who had done extra training in regenerative or functional medicine. And they were sourced from compounding pharmacies that are inspected, regulated, and required to test products for purity, potency, sterility, and contaminants. The pharmacy, in that case, stands behind the product. If the clinician prescribes something and something is wrong with that product, they can go back to the regulated entity and ask, what the heck happened here? That's very different from what is now happening. Anyone can go online now and buy research-grade peptides from a website that says in bold letters on each vial, not for human use, for research only. Many of these companies will provide a certificate of analysis, but they're not held to the same standards as compounding pharmacies. So trace levels of contaminants, including heavy metals or bacterial endotoxins, can be present, while the certificate of analysis, or COA, looks fine. Third-party testing to a very high standard is essential. So like HPLC or mass spec. There is no meaningful oversight for sterility, storage, handling, or contamination from these kinds of sources. And many companies are now producing cheap or impure, not safe peptides out of typically China and India are flooding the market under the guise of shops operating out of North America. In my opinion, those are not of high enough purity to be introduced into the body by injection. You don't have any filter. You don't have a liver to filter up the toxins when you just put it straight into your bloodstream. Difference between eating something and injecting it into your body. So there are very few companies I trust actually in North America, and they make their products in ISO certified facilities to the highest purity standards. I have spoken to the company owners. I have seen the actual data. They do independent third-party testing for all of the things, but they are very hard to come by. So what happened in the broader picture with peptides is that they really started to gain traction in the 2010s and 2020s. And because of that, the FDA got suspicious, and rightfully so. They then cracked down even on peptide compounding by official, legit pharmacies in 2023 and 2024. Which was terrible for the many clinicians who rely on these things. Their patients rely on these things to get well. People who are very, very sick. Unfortunately, many of these clinics and clinicians have gone underground and have turned to other suppliers for peptides or have their own peptides made privately. Now, it seems that the tide is changing again on regulatory, as RFK Jr. announced on a podcast just about a month ago at the time of this recording. It would have been in March 2026 that some of the most popular peptides would be reclassified so that they can be compounded again. And just yesterday, which was April 15th, 2026, the official announcement was made by the FDA that they have gone ahead and done this. Move from Category 2 into Category 1, which means they can be compounded again, but they're under watch. They're not officially regulated drugs yet. It's a major win. We still have a long way to go, and it'll be a long time till we see regulatory open up so we can access peptides more easily and freely if that happens, but still, great news. Big picture, unfortunately, related to this, in rapidly evolving scientific domains like peptide research, regulatory frameworks trail behind innovation. We see this a lot in medical schools, which tend to be 14 to 23 years behind the research. This lag is not a failure of oversight. It's the reality of regulatory systems. So scientific discovery moves iteratively and globally, while regulatory bodies must validate safety, standardization, and long-term implications before issuing formal guidance. Recent commentary from the FDA and Health Canada's ongoing evaluations of compounded and research use peptides reflects this dynamic environment. And it's super frustrating because clinically they've been used for decades by many top-tier functional medicine physicians with stunning success to help people when standard approaches just can't. But here we are. Anyway, in this crazy environment where peptides are certainly still in a weird gray area, clinicians and research professionals are not merely participants. Unfortunately, we have to act as gatekeepers, both so people don't buy bad, contaminated, or dangerous products, and so they use peptides safely and correctly. We don't want them hurting themselves or wasting their money. And it sucks. It sucks to be in this position, to be legally exposed. And I just frankly hate gatekeeping this stuff. Because the fact is that being in this space comes with pretty considerable exposure to liability in terms of getting shut down. Both myself, ourselves, and our suppliers, the legit companies that are producing really good product. And this is why I just can't announce publicly, go to this website, they're great, or here's my supplier, because it's a scary space to be in that way. And I'm just going to bluntly and unabashedly say that Big Pharma is not supportive of natural medicine, of peptides, because they're not making money on them yet. This means they lose money on drugs that sick people would be taking. And this is not me being a conspiracy theorist. I do have a couple of very close insider friends in the industry. One is very high up in a compounding pharmacy, and another was on Health Canada's drug regulatory board at the top of the, pyramid. And they have warned me in no uncertain terms that I should be very careful about promoting peptides, that I should scrub the internet of my home address, that I should operate under a pseudonym, like the list goes on. It's frightening, and it's a sad state of affairs. And the last thing I want is the men in black showing up at my door. So while I will offer this education and this service, it's a bit of a thing to shout it from the rooftops. So there you go. Am I afraid? No, not at the moment, not at the scale I'm working at, but it crosses my mind as we grow, as a Better Beyond 40 formula is exploding in popularity. So we'll see. And I gotta say, sorry, I'm on my soapbox a little bit, but to me, the risk is worth it. Like, I can protect myself legally, mostly, I think. But if I can get people better and support them to access these things, to be in less pain and less suffering, less anguish, then God damn it, I will. And I may have to go underground at some point, but that's a risk that I take. And I do have the advantage that many providers don't have, in that I don't have a regulatory board breathing down my neck. A doctor cannot talk to you about most of these peptides. That's why I get referrals from GPs and from experts and functional medicine providers and naturopaths. Like, can you work with this person? Yes, I can, because they cannot, they will get shut down. Physios too, all these people who have boards. So I feel like, given what I've seen and what I know about how helpful they can be, it is my duty to leverage that knowledge to help people, but I do have to be careful, and I cannot help everybody with this. All this is to say, peptides themselves are not unsafe. The danger generally comes from poor quality manufacturing, or in some cases, misuse. Regulatory is hard and sticky and sucky. And until they're more freely available, yeah, it's a pain, and it sucks. It's important to never take cheap peptides or take them from an unknown source, as many are impure and can cause side effects or tissue damage or permanent damage. I get asked almost daily whether new supplier X, Y, or Z is okay. And honestly, my blanket answer is no, don't do it. If you're really convinced that this is a good company, that their stuff is made in a blah, 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 we could talk about it, but... So here's some simple guidance. If you're going to explore peptides, do it with a clinician who understands and has training in how to administer them. Not something shiny on TikTok. Beware of any spa or clinic or supplement you see online or peptide program that doesn't start with your labs, your history, your goals, your health status. Peptides are not here to replace your foundations. If someone is selling you peptides instead of talking about your sleep, your nutrition, your blood work, hormone balance, etc., that is a huge red flag. Run the other direction. So, should you consider peptides? Good question. Let's land all of this with a very practical framework. If you're wondering about whether peptides belong in your life, please ask yourself 3 simple questions. 1, are my foundations truly in place? Am I sleeping reasonably well most nights? Am I eating enough protein and whole foods, veggies, fiber, healthy fats, and not undereating or overeating? Am I moving, especially lifting something heavier than my handbag or my 8-pound dumbbells? Have I done some work on stress and, if need be, trauma? And so on. Number 2, have I had a critical look at my hormones and basic labs with someone who understands them and can help me optimize? And especially if you're dealing with perimenopause or menopause or menopause issues, this is extra important. Along with that are my thyroid, iron, B12, vitamin D, and blood sugar at least reasonably addressed. Number 3, what specific problem am I hoping that peptides can help me with? Are we looking at gut repair and joint healing, or immune resilience and autoimmunity? Is it about muscle or bone or wound healing, surgical recovery? Is it for brain fog or neuroinflammation? Are you just generally interested in longevity? If you can articulate those things clearly and your base is reasonably solid, then peptides can be incredibly elegant tools potentially. So foundations first, hormones next, peptides as precision tools.